Hello everyone, this is Shankar from Mindtickle. It's a great pleasure to meet you all here in the online event Army of Sales Reps. I'll be moderating this particular session on role of sales managers in enablement. And to talk on this, we have two seasoned sales leaders with over 2 decades of experience in high-tech sales and managing and building sales teams in companies such as AppDynamics, PTC, IBM, New Relic, etc. Let me kickstart the session by welcoming Jim Drill and Cameron Essalat and asking them to share a bit more about themselves to the audience.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Drill. I've been in high-tech sales for 29 years. Started my career at IBM, done a number of large and small companies, including 5 startups, and happy to be here.
My name is Cameron Essalat. I just recently started here about 3 months ago as the Vice President of Sales at Mindtickle. Similar to Jim, I've been in high-tech sales for roughly about 20 years. I've had senior sales leadership positions at companies like Juniper Networks, Informatica, New Relic, and most recently AppDynamics.
And let's dive right into this. We've got a very interesting topic, the role of manager in sales enablement. And why do you think this is very important now? What has changed? Why is it important now?
Well, it's always been the number one priority of sales management is to recruit, develop, and retain, top talent. But in, the last 5 years, there's a lot of distractions have come into play. Clearly, with all of the technology that is available to all of us, including obviously the smartphones and the tablets that we have in our hands, is frankly inundated salespeople with a lot of information, a lot of it good information, but some of it not necessarily good and distracting. Social media, there's obviously numerous marketing automation tools. There's all kinds of CRM tools and various tools and technologies that are claiming to help salespeople more productive, but that also can become a big distraction. So the topic of sales enablement and coaching of those salespeople is critical, again, in order to get the sales managers to be able to train and develop those people and then retain them to get their organization to perform at a high level.
I think I just want to echo what Jim is saying here. I think traditionally, all a sales leader has actually had has been a tool like a Salesforce, some type of sales CRM. And really what we're seeing in today's day and age is a bit of a digital transformation within the sales enablement and training world. And it is absolutely, to Jim's point, around developing and retaining your talent and ensuring that they are audible ready to take on the multiple complexities of the sales world today. So one of the aspects I would say that, from a Salesforce perspective, it's great from a forecasting and pipeline generation perspective. But again, from a development perspective, there's a huge hole there. It doesn't actually help you train and reinforce a lot of the core principles of your company, like competitive intelligence, product training, culture training, et cetera.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, you have hired, enabled several managers, several reps over the years. What have you seen as some of the key attributes of good managers? What makes them successful?
Well, the first thing after obviously hiring that top talent, the sales manager's job is to set the priorities, get their teams focused on the fundamentals, what they deem are the most important and the most critical elements of knowledge that those salespeople need to understand. So first, they have to get them focused on those priorities. The second thing is they have to establish a culture of discipline, taking those priorities and then ensuring that the reps are paying attention to those and not getting distracted by all those other elements that the rest of the world wants them to be focused on. Thirdly, they also then have to establish the culture of accountability, that they are responsible and going to be held accountable for internalizing and digesting those fundamental building blocks that their managers have established. It's no different than, if you play a sport or if you play the guitar or play the piano, you have to focus on the particular topic at hand, and then you have to practice that on a regular basis. So the best managers do that and ensure that that is the fundamental part of their program.
Absolutely. And I think I just want to touch on two things that Jim spoke about, which is a consistency and accountability. From a consistency perspective, in today's day and age, if you pick one sales rep off your floor and actually have them do an elevator pitch and then pick another 3 reps, you're most likely going to get 4 different elevator pitches. Vice versa, if you pick one rep and ask them what the competitive differentiations are between you and your top 2 competitors, either they'll know or they don't know. And if you pick 10 reps, you'll probably get 10 different answers for what those differentiators are. So a lot of, again, what we're seeing in this digital transformation is ensuring that each rep has the same message across the board and that they're audible, ready to do it. So traditionally, when a salesperson, would receive only one onboarding session throughout a 12-month period, what we're seeing is that salespeople need more. They need that manager-led coaching on a daily basis, on a weekly cadence. And then I would say that the other topic Jim talked about is accountability. I think sales reps in today's day and age expect a lot more of their managers. So they again, as I was saying, Salesforce is in your left hand, which gives you visibility into pipeline generation, forecasting, et cetera. The rep needs more than that. They need more than just telling them that they're not hitting their number, that they're not generating enough pipeline. And that's really kind of the transformation that we're seeing is having some type of sales enablement and training tool that's really purpose built for salespeople to help them fill in those gaps. And again, the reps in today's day and age are looking for that level of coaching. They're looking for the guidance.
How do you ensure consistency across all managers?
I think about it in kind of 4 steps. One, you have to establish a weekly cadence. It's no different than exercise. If you don't allocate time for coaching and training of your sales organization, it's not going to get done. So that's the first step you have to do. The second thing is I talked about discipline. You have to establish a culture of preparation. It's the sales reps along with the manager's job to prepare. Whatever the topic at hand is, they have to prepare for that particular coaching session or that opportunity, no different than they would prepare for a sales call. The third thing is that's the opportunity to practice. You have to practice. Whatever your favorite topic is, like I described, whether you're playing a sport, whether you're going to play the guitar, or you're going to sing and dance, you have to practice and over and over and over before you get into real time or the game, so to speak. And then the fourth step in terms of established consistency is you have to provide a common approach to critiquing and providing feedback. Again, you have to allocate time to do that. People have to recognize that is part of the cadence where we're going to directly and honestly provide critiquing and feedback so that we can get better. So if you take those 4 steps across the organization, you should have consistent foundation building and consistent performance in building your teams.
Absolutely, and I think there's not much to add there, Jim. I think you've hit the nail on the head there with regards to those 4 bullet points. The one thing that I would add here is really primarily around, I would highlight it, is consistency and accountability. From a consistency perspective, in this day and age, you should be able to pick any one of your reps off the floor and actually have them give an elevator pitch. And in general, if you pick one person to do an elevator pitch and ask another three, you'll probably get four different answers there. Vice versa, if you pick a sales rep to discuss some competitive differentiators between you and your top competitors, you'll probably get five different answers across five different reps. And it's really providing that level of consistency across the board is what your job is as a manager. From an accountability perspective, in today's day and age, sales reps are looking for much more from their sales managers. So just having Salesforce in your left hand as a tool, as a sales manager, is really not enough today. Again, reps are looking for you to lead from the front, looking for you to jump into the trenches with them and really hold them accountable to whatever your sales methodology is that you use within your company. What we use here is we use MEDDIC. And MEDDIC simply stands for, the M is for metrics, the E is for executive business decision maker, the D is for decision criteria, the second D is for decision process, the I is for identify pain, the C is for competition, and the last C is for champion. And really ensuring this level of consistency across all of your sales reps is critical. And I think the third point that I want to bring up is really what this digital transformation is all about, which is essentially collapsing the gap between sales leaders and sales enablement leaders. And it's really around data, right? So when we talk about a digital transformation, we're talking about taking something and putting it on a software platform and, really utilizing the data the same way you would using Salesforce. So again, from a sales leader perspective, you have Salesforce in your left hand, and then in your right hand, you have some type of purpose-built sales enablement platform, and really taking away critical data from there with regards to where your rep is having weakness and really reinforcing within those specific weaknesses to ensure that they're functioning at 100%.
Now, if you can extend this from a sales manager to a sales leader, and both of you have built several sales teams, you hired managers, you hired sales reps, what suggestions do you have to the other sales leaders out there? How should they create a culture of coaching between their managers and sales reps?
Well, the top performance metric by most sales organizations obviously are bookings and revenue attainment. That's the top metric of success, and that's how most sales organizations are measured. But I think about that as a consequence of a good foundation of training and enablement. I mentioned at the outset, your job is to recruit, development, and retain top talent. In order to do that, you got to be thinking about this as a priority. Your job is not to chase deals. You're not running around as a super rep. You are responsible for exceeding your numbers, but you do that by building a strong team. And that requires you to allocate the time as we described to make sure that this is a top priority. The organization should know from the sales leadership that this is a top priority. And obviously there are numerous resources in many companies, sales enablement, sales operations, marketing, product, and so forth. But it is the sales leader's job to establish that this is the priority and to get comfortable that when they do that, and assuming they have the right strategy and the right playbook, the revenue and the bookings will come. But it's that foundation that you have to own and prioritize first in order to succeed with the top line numbers.
Absolutely, and I think just to echo what Jim's saying, there's again not much to add there outside of the fact that as sales leaders, we've never had a platform or a solution to help us with this. Again, when you look at some of the digital transformations that have occurred, when you look at what Zendesk did for collapsing the gap between internal and external stakeholders and customer support folks, when you look at what a company like Marketo did for collapsing the gap between marketing folks and salespeople, we're now in real time, we're seeing the same digital transformation occur in our world, which is sales and training and coaching of our reps.
That's insightful. Yeah. And obviously, Jim, you summed it up well. Revenue is a top performance indicator for any sales team, right? Do you have any other recommendation on some best practices? What have you seen work in some of the teams that you have built? Uh, any suggestions on that?
Yeah, for me, it's consistent with what I described before. You have to have a program with those four steps I talked about, and you have to embrace that program with a strong sense of discipline and accountability. Everybody should know what that program. You need to communicate that program. There should be no uncertainty from the first day a person joins the company throughout, as I said, all of those other support organizations. Everybody should understand that this is what the program looks like. This is our weekly cadence. This is how we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and we're going to track that performance through the data that Cameron's describing. And if you do that consistently on a weekly, a monthly, and quarterly basis, you will build a top performing sales organization.
Absolutely, and I think I know Jim's spoken to me about this several times, but really, when you look at it, right, it's one is practice, two is preparation, and then three is results or revenue. And the reality is that everyone sees a revenue, but what they don't see is one and two taking place. And without one and two, there is no three. So definitely agree there.
So this is very insightful, and I'm sure the audience has a lot to take away from this. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Cameron. And to the audience, if you have any questions, please tweet to us, at twitter.com /mindtickle, right? We'll relay those questions to Jim and Cameron, and I'll get back to you with responses. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.